Welcome to Veranda CA. So today we're going to see strategic management and the very first chapter, Introduction to Strategic Management. Strategic management is definitely connected to business, right? And business is definitely not a new term. It has been there for ages. And from then till now, business definitely exists for profit. The amount of profit, the level of growth that we all see, that every business see may be different, but it definitely looks for profit in terms of survival, and when they are able to reach all this, there's definitely efficiency, production efficiency, cost efficiency, and there is ultimate growth. So the term strategic management is very much related to business. Why should business have a policy? What is the need for the policy? Now business have all gone globalized. It's all globalized. There's so much of globalization. We are not confined to our own four walls. We are not confined to our own state, to our own country. We want to reach out to every nook and corner of the world. So globalization has resulted in these revolutionary changes in the policy framework of not only the developed countries or the developing countries, but also the underdeveloped countries. Every country wants to reach high. So therefore, they understood the need for liberalization. Liberalization, they have removed the artificial trade barriers. So there is no more restriction to just trade within the same country, to trade within the same locals. We can go global. So the need for liberalization, the need for globalization has all resulted in an uphold policy, that is in terms of business policy, the business have become international with severe competition. So there is competition in every sphere. So these developments have given way for business policy, and the modern term we coin it as strategic management. We can all see the difference between the traditional business that was taken place all these years and the modern concept of business. There is a drastic amount of change in the conventional concept of business. There, whatever was produced, customer was not the focal point over there, and whatever was produced, they were very sure that consumers will buy their product, irrespective of its price, irrespective of its quality, or irrespective of its design, making, and so on. But now the modern concept of business has given so much of importance to a consumer, to a customer, his needs, his requirements, his demands. So we see so many customized products which are being produced. This focuses on the customer's satisfaction. The modern concept of business focuses on the customers and satisfaction and not on products and sales. That has taken the back seat now. So from then till now, say for example, in 1960s, corporate planning was more popular. And then later, business policy was more popular, and now we term it as strategic management, where there is, because of stiff competition, so many businesses, so many products, so many sub-products, so many substitutes. So there is so much of competition overall, which is prevalent overall. And because of this, strategic management has gained its importance. So we can quickly see the differences between a traditional concept of business and a modern concept of business. We've already discussed the main idea behind a modern concept is customer, and whereas under a traditional concept it was just production. They were not customer oriented. So by term of its meaning, business is production and distribution of products mainly for their personal gain, for the personal gain of the owners, for making profit only. But here the business organization should determine what is the need of my consumer, what is his requirement, and I can accordingly alter, modify my design to his needs. So there it was profit oriented, and now it is customer and society oriented. The producer in a traditional business would just sell his product, would just sell whatever his excess products. He will never give a time to listen to what his consumers require. But whereas in a modern concept, it is full of competition. If I lose my consumer, there's another person ready to pick him up. So competitive market conditions prevalent in a modern concept. Consumer preference definitely has no role in a traditional concept. Here, that's the basis for which the modern concept has totally changed. Assumption, as we all know, consumers will definitely buy my product, whatever is available. Especially if I produce it at a cheaper rate, I have demand for the product very well. But in a modern concept, cheaper products, customers are ready to buy a product even if it is at a higher price, but provided you satisfy his need. You design the product according to his requirement. So the business will survive only when the products or services satisfy the customer's need. And most of the traditional businesses, or the businesses that had taken place in those point of time, were run by the own family members, friends, relatives, and so on. Now it is all publicly held. So all the shares are publicly traded, and it is all management requires professional managers, those who have been qualified by IIMs, IITs. So only technical people handle businesses, and this extent of a modern business is global. However, it was limited, restricted to a particular area in a traditional business. So having seen the basic differences or the major differences drawn between a traditional business and a modern business, now we definitely know business have taken a complete turnover. Yes, the decisions taken by the top management is what we generally refer as policy. So the top management provide you a guideline as to what their goals are, what their objectives are, what they want to achieve. So business policy is something which is taken by the top management. They are also guiding their employees who are working underneath them for its effective functioning. So it is the identity of the company or the identity of the organization is getting molded, and their character is totally changing in order to reach the goals. And every business today, whether it is successful or failure, is definitely the major reason or the main reason is attributed to their business policy. What has been their policy? How have they handled their goals, and how have they handled the tactics in order to reach those goals? That has been the determinant factor to decide whether the business has proven to be successful or a failure. It was well defined. The business policy has been well defined as the study of the functions and responsibilities of the senior management. The crucial problems that would affect the success in the total enterprise, and the decisions that determine the directions of the organization and shape its future. So it is the responsibility of the senior management, it is their function basically. All the problems that the enterprise as such would handle in order to reach the goal they want to attain in the future. So this is framed by the business policy. And business policy lays emphasis on the rational analytical aspect of strategic management. So we're going to see next what is strategic, what is management, and this business policy is laying emphasis on this aspect of strategic management. It basically provides you an outer picture and a framework for understanding what the strategic decisions are, what my strategic decision is in my organization. It provides you a basic framework or an outline for understanding the strategic decision making. So that's about the business policy and the need for business policy having seen. Let's move on to the next term that we are going to see is management. What is management? The business is functioned, the business has started to operate, and now how it is going to be running, how it is going to be managed, who manages the business. As soon as something happens, we quickly point out to who are the managers, who is it run by. So the management is the key important aspect of business. It is a key group. Management is generally referred as a key group. It's not one person, it is a group of people, depending on the size of the organization, who are in charge of managing the business affairs or the functions and the processes which are carried out by the key group in order to attain the objectives. So they have set the objective, and now how am I going to do in order to reach there? So that is decided, or that is discussed, or that is coordinated by this important group. What do we refer as key? An important person, an important. So this is done by this important group of the business. It's basically the art of getting work done through people. Yeah, we can make machines work, we can make any other object work, but making human beings work in order to reach your business objective, that art is referred as management. It is definitely an art, because managing humans and making them work is definitely regarded as an art, by way of which the employer is also satisfied, the employee is also satisfied, the consumers, the suppliers, the public at large are all satisfied through this art work called management. Management generally plans, organizes, recruits, staffs, motivates the employees, gives them a direction, coordinates among the various teams or functions, and then controls the entire system. So much of work is being done by this group of people, the management. Management, apart from this action that they carry out, they are contributing to the company's resources. They are maximizing their resources, providing better ideas, visions, and stability. Ideas are set, a vision is already set, but then they are enabling this happen. They are enabling the vision, they are enabling the idea to take place. So definitely this art requires excellent managerial skills. An accountant, as he is required for a financial job, management group, this requires excellent managerial skills to know, to plan, to articulate, to get works done, to select the right amount of people, to motivate them, to encourage them, to coordinate, and to so on. It requires great managerial skills, technically, conceptually, and also directionally. So management is that concept, and from there we move on to the most important term, the strategy. Strategy has been actually evolved or it is derived from the military concept. We can all relate this very easily. So the strategy that they have employed in a war, we generally see. So that is where the origin started. But in business, why do we refer strategy? So yes, business has come into existence, people are recruited, management is set, and now they have perceived a goal for their organization. They have set an objective to be achieved in a long run, in a short run, in a mid-range goal, so on. So I have set an objective in paper, it is in words, I can read, people can read, but what is the step to reach there? What are the action to be taken to reach that goal, to attain that objective, to see your company in the next level of cadre? What is that step that you're going to take? Is referred as strategy. So strategy is not something in words, it is something in action. Policy or objective or a vision are all in words. They have envisaged the company to get into that position in future, but then how do I get it? How do I go there? That is what is referred as strategy, the action taken. So strategy is the determination of the basic long-term goals and the objectives of an enterprise. Adoption of a course, implementing a course, formulating a course and adopting them, allocating the resources. I have various resources in terms of manpower, in terms of capital, machines and so on. So allocating these resources necessary in order to achieve these goals. So this strategy is defined as adopting a set of action or a course of action by allocating the various resources your organization has for reaching out to the position the company desires. So it can be well done or it can be well drafted only by the practical experiences that the managers possess. That is the basis for management. There is no much theory behind this, though there are theoretical concepts. Business to business vary, situation to situation vary. So strategic management depends on the practical experiences of the managers. That forms the basis for management. And this business policy which we referred in the beginning has now taken its shape and is referred as strategic management. Concept of strategy, as I said, is derived from military principle. That is, we generally refer strategy to the paper fight exercise, where we don't know what to take our next move is. Only when a bundle of papers has fallen on us, we will decide what could be our next course of action. So strategy literally means in anticipation of the opponent's move, I design my own way of action. And it can be said as mobilizing and deploying the resources systematically to the desired future state that I want to see my company in. Of course, strategy is not a past. Maybe based on the past experience, you are designing a strategy, but it is future oriented. What if the same situation happens in the near future, or what if even a fight situation or a tight situation happens in the future? What do I do? So strategy is future oriented, objective oriented. It's a long range blueprint of an organization's desired image, direction and destination, as in what it wants to be, where it wants to go, and what it is looking for. So that is helped by the strategies the management decides. For example, if the company wants to increase their market share, or they are more customer oriented, they want to satisfy their customer, or they want to earn a good image, a good reputation, a good goodwill. So what is their goal, and that is possible to achieve only through a well-designed strategy. So it has been defined as a unified, comprehensive, integrated plan designed to assure that the basic objectives of the business are achieved. It is meant to fill in the needs of an organization, what the organization actually wants, what is their requirement, what is their need. So strategy fulfills it for a sense of dynamic direction, focus and cohesiveness. It cannot be a strict, rigid, firm policy. It has to be flexible in order to incorporate any situation that would arise in the future. So these are some of the features of strategy, and it is very much universally applicable, not just applicable to developed countries or underdeveloped countries, or to only for big firms or not for small firms. To any size, to any place, it is applicable, because ultimately every business wants to survive in the long run and achieve their growth maximization. And most important feature of strategy is it is proactive as well as reactive. What is proactive? Of course, we know reactive. Depending on what the situation we face, strategies are changed or responded to such situations. That is reactive. Proactive, in anticipation of various changes that could take place in the future, I design my strategy in such a way so that it is all the possible outcomes are well accumulated first. So just the strategy may be reactive or proactive. This reactive is unplanned, okay, and it takes place due to changes in the environment. Sudden a change, we react to it and then reframe the policy. Proactive, you anticipate those change, and it is a deliberate attempt on the part of the organization. So some of the examples of proactive and reactive strategies you could see, where the reactive strategies can be defend against competition which you are facing, competitors, position, customers requesting, demanding for something, and then you are reacting to it. On the other hand, proactive, being proactive is joining hands with someone, making alliances, acquiring, merging, acquisition. You invest a lot in R&D, market, to find out the various needs of the customer before they could come about with their requirements. Okay, so these are proactive and reactive, and definitely strategy cannot be only proactive and cannot be only reactive. It is definitely a mix of proactive strategies and reactive strategies. So business policy, the new term being coined as strategic management. Strategy, we have seen what is that, and then management is definitely, we know. What is strategic management? It definitely goes through the following stages. Set a vision, mission, objective. That is collectively referred as the strategic intent. The strategic intent, what I intend my organization to be, how I visualize it, the vision, mission, objectives. Now create, formulate or strategies in order to reach those vision, mission. So creating the strategies or formulating a particular strategy. How do I formulate? It cannot be just in books. So it has to be by analyzing the internal and external environment in which I am functioning. By doing a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat of your company. By doing this, I formulate a strategy. Yes, formulated. Next step is definitely implementation. So planned, now get into action. That's implementation. It is implemented, and the next step is definitely about evaluating it, whether it is working or it requires some more adjustment, some more correction, or is it a total failure. So evaluating the strategies, measuring, comparing its performance, and last but not the least, taking corrective adjustments, as I said, wherever and whenever required. So that's all about strategic management, the various phases it goes through. And why do we need a strategic management? What are the benefits? Is it really required? The importance of strategic management. It gives you a competitive advantage. The fact that why you are superior than other competitors, why you are looked upon by the customers than others. Maybe you are a low cost provider or you are supplying unique products. So whatever, there could be many competitive advantage which each company faces. So that is possible through this strategic management. That's a major important feature of strategic management, and the process, as we have discussed: analysis, formulation, implementation, evaluation, and control, taking corrective steps as and when required. We all know it offers many benefits. The major benefits is it gives you a path, a direction. How do I proceed to my goals? How do I attain my goals? A sense of direction, analyzing the internal, external environment, the SWOT analysis, as we had said. And it is enabling you to draft realistic objectives, not just the dream, the vision that you want your company to see in the future, but it is helping you to frame realistic objective. This is not possible, or this is quite possible. That is possible only if you draft a strategic policy. So realistic objectives are being set in order to ensure you are in line with the vision of the company, and also it provides a framework for the major decisions that the business is taking. Business decisions with regard to the products that I need to produce, the services, marketing, manufacturing, investments, and so on. Futuristic, we know it is for the future. It is based on past, based on the present scenario. I design my future, and it is a defense mechanism. I would have definitely done a mistake. The strategy may be a failure. Okay, so against all such mistakes and pitfalls, it serves as a defense mechanism, and it is ensuring longevity of your business. So survival. The company wants to survive in a very long run, irrespective of change in management, change in ownership. The business needs to survive in a long run. Many competitors may step in, many changes may be made. So if you design a good, better strategic policy, this is possible. Survival and longevity of the business is possible, and it helps in your core competencies and competitive advantage. Yes, strategic management is definitely has its own limitation. So as I've been coining, it's a very big process: formulating, envisaging, looking at your future, setting the vision, mission, implementing, evaluating. But it looks like a costly process. Yes, it is a costly process. You need efficient managers, you need professional managers who have experience or who has knowledge, the technical knowledge, experience, and so on. So it is not possible for all firms or for all kind of organization, maybe especially for mid-sized firms or a small-sized business. So expert strategic planners are required to be engaged in this process. So it is a costly process, and efforts are required to be taken for analyzing the internal, external environment. It is a lengthy process, costly, lengthy, time-consuming, and I cannot foresee everything. When I said strategy management is proactive, reactive is as such involves a lot of risk. Proactive is definitely all the future possibilities cannot be much planned ahead. So it is a complex, turbulent environment. COVID was not predicted. So it is not always possible to foresee or to come about with many strategies as possible in order to face all the situations. All is not possible. As many as possible situations that we can predict and frame strategic decisions is what we can do in the strategic management. So these are the various limitations in the strategic management. So not various, the benefits are many, the limitations are limited depending on the size of the firm, but especially for a bigger organization, they can very well design a better and a good strategic policy. Now, strategic management, who has to take them? Where, which level? First of all, how many levels are there in an organization? Can any employee of an organization frame a policy, or is it only the owner can frame a policy? So in order to know that, let's see the structure of the organization, the various levels. So strategic policy is concerned or hits various levels, not just the top level or not just the middle level. It affects all the levels in an organization. What are the various levels? First of all, at top we have the corporate level, who we all know, the owner, we refer him as CEO or MD or the board of directors. They are referred as the top level management, and in business we term them as corporate level. What do they set? They set the vision, they set the mission, they set the goals, the objectives that your organization wants to achieve. So objectives are set by this corporate level team. Now what is their responsibility? Once they set, they cannot wash away their hands. They have to plan, they have to bring in the managers from other teams, coordinate with them, first of all align with their own ideas, and then bring them in order to ensure that the vision, mission are all going to be implemented in their respective business units on their respective levels. So they have a responsibility to ensure, to bring in other managers, to bring in the other levels inside this, to ensure that this vision is accomplished. And who are they accountable, or who are they answerable to? The public, the shareholders who have invested in the business. On the other hand, the public who buys their products. So we definitely cannot question a sales manager when the quality is not good. So the top level management is accountable or answerable to the shareholders and public. Next, we have the middle level. Okay, so the top level is done away with. Now we have the middle level, so that we refer as the business level. At this level, their objective is to attain the goals that has been framed by the top level management. Yes, now they have got an idea, all the vision, the mission has been communicated and has been discussed with them. Now they are going to, what is their responsibility is giving a direction for its implementation with the other managers working under them, under the middle level people. So they are going to implement it. So formulated is done by one set of team, the higher level. Now the middle level comes about with its implementation, giving the others a direction or a path to ensure that this is happening in the right way. And yes, if it doesn't work, or if it has not been implemented, or implemented in a wrong way, not in line with the vision or the mission of the organization, who are they answerable to? The top management. So the top management is answerable to the public, and in order to be responsible enough, they definitely would question the middle level management as to its right implementation. Now the final level that we have in an organization that we all popularly know is the functional level. So we know the sales manager, we know the HR manager. So there are various functions. HR manager is not concerned with the production. Sales manager is not concerned with the account departments. So the various functional managers are there at the bottommost level. Okay, and now it has been formulated by the top, implemented by the middle, and now they are going to allocate the responsibility to each individual. They are going to distribute the jobs, responsibility to a lot of workers who are working under each of their departments. So they are responsible for whom? For the quality of the products, for the amount of products that has been produced, or for the level of efficiency with which the employees work. So they are all responsible and accountable for these many jobs. So these are the various levels in an organization, the top, middle and the bottom, that is the operational level. And strategy is not just restricted to top, not just restricted to any of it, but it affects or hits each of these levels. As I said, corporate level have their own policies to be framed, business level have their own strategies to be framed, and also the functional level. So we've had a very good idea about the various levels. The members in a corporate level are the CEO, yes, and they ensure that their vision are inconsistent with the maximizing the shareholders' wealth. Business level, the various businesses are split into different kind of products depending on the various products that is being produced. SBUs are created, and each SBU has a business level manager. So he is responsible for that level of product that has been produced. Functional level, their own function, R&D, marketing, so their own function they are responsible for. So all this strategic level is playing a role. At all these levels, strategic management is playing its own role. Now, so having seen entirely about strategic management, the various levels, the importance, the limitations, the benefits, what is it, the terminologies. So we have actually framed an idea, strategic management is only for profit-making organization. So business exists for profit, so definitely strategic management is only applicable for profit-making organization. That is not the new understanding about it. Strategic management is also very much applicable for a non-profit organization. What is a non-profit organization? Not for merely making profits. Yes, their motive is basically non-commercial. Non-commercial as in I don't exist only for making profit, but for some social cause. Let it be charity homes. Let it be food for the poor, school children education. Let it be medicine field. All these fields, there is a different motive which are non-commercial and not for making profit. So there are various NGOs who have come up to help such societies, such as requirement of that particular society in terms of education, in terms of their basic needs, food, shelter. So they also have their own objective. And why not strategic management in such sectors, in such non-profit organizations or even government sectors? Why should it be restricted to profit-oriented businesses alone? Even such non-profit organization needs to survive, right? A home or charity home or an education for the poor or education for the needy has been implemented not to just last for a few months or for a few years. In fact, that is what is required on a very long-term basis. Everybody needs to be educated, everybody needs to be sheltered, given the good quality food, education, medicine is what the aim of every developing country is. So strategic management is very much required, in fact, in such organization that is a non-profit organization. How can we bring about, and what is all this non-profit organization? Will they be able to manage the various demands that the strategic business requires, the strategic management requires? For example, this non-profit organization, the true owners may not be running it. It may be run even, the true owner had to conceptualize this idea, but it may be run by others. Okay, many staff or many people who want to take this to a next level may be running it. But the ultimate motive of starting such a non-profit or NPO or a governmental department is because in order to meet the various requirements of the sector, of that sector of society which are not listened by those commercial organizations, which are not adhered by those commercial organizations in our country. So non-profit organization comes into existence to meet the needs which are not met by those business enterprises. What is their main source of funding? When it comes to business, we all know shareholders are there, they pool in funds, they get bank loans, guarantees and so on. But non-profit organizations definitely don't have such amount of funding. How do they get their funding? It is through donations. People donate for such charity homes. We see people coming in and out asking for donations, or it can be by way of items being provided to them, in if not in commercial, maybe items can be provided, food can be provided to them, clothes can be provided to them, or offer teaching as a service in terms of education. So they are facing the biggest challenge. Yeah, funding is definitely a biggest challenge. Not all would donate, not all NPOs we can reliably trust upon and donate funds to such places. So they are facing the biggest challenge in terms of funding. So that's the reason why strategic management is required. The objective of strategic management here is to mark the existence of the organizational mission and assist the organization to conform to that mission in order to be in line with that mission or vision that they have set. So here, development of long-term strategic plans, formulate strategic plans, to meet all term periods, small, medium, long, is all we require the strategic management. First, we need to find where this organization is, whether it is a startup, what are their needs, do they have consumers, do they have competitors, are there good employees, staffing is there, will they be able to serve the purpose for which it has been created, funding, what is their level of funding, how much funds they have, how much cost is required to implement the vision that has been set, and analyze the effectiveness of the organization procedure to achieve the goals that they have set. So all these process is a basic requirement before we get into strategic management. Define who their consumers are, know about their employees, find out their cost in terms of capital requirement, what is the cost involved, and so on. In this manner, we shall see the strategic management in educational institution, one of the non-profit organization. Education has the term education has taken many stages. Now the basic long years back, education was up to school or up to a particular level, and now then it went on to higher education or a doctorate in education. So but it was almost limited to a restricted field, but now we see education just not finance oriented or science oriented. It is there are so many. Yeah, and when it comes to educational institutes, the resources are basically their teachers, the principal, the readiness of the principal, the school, the physical property, what infrastructure do they have, and also the parental support. A new system of education has come in, which is, even though if it is proved to be successful, is the parent body ready to accept it? By this new method, we could make the child even more better, even more independent, even more objective oriented. But then this system is not in line with the traditional system of education that I have seen or I have undergone. So parental body's support is very much required when it comes to educational institution. So therefore, the culture, the motivation, the leadership, the time, the learning time are all required in order to attain the output, being what? Not profit, not growth, but achievement of the students who have studied in such institution. Their ultimate vision is students' achievement mainly. So their ultimate motive is not profit making to be the #1 school. That may be there, but their major motive is students' achievement. So by knowing the various resources an educational institute has, we need to see what strategic management is required in order to achieve this object, being students' achievement. So therefore the school management, so when I say business management, there is a group of people, studied professional people, but when it comes to school, the transformation of school management is required. Why? To give better education, for improving the basic education. A long-term change process. It's not a short term. I am implementing a process with greater confidence that the students will benefit through this way, and that has to be a long term. I cannot give it up at the middle. People or students or parents will lose confidence with your institute. So, for improving the basic education, entailing a long-term change process with a core set of practices performed by the principals, teachers, students, parents everybody associated with it, support staff, advisors, supervisors. So management is definitely a collection of all these people, and it requires a long-term change. It is definitely a long-term change process. Education, lot of innovation has been brought about. Yes, education is not just studying whatever is in the book and producing whatever has been already planned and discussed upon. So much of innovation has brought about in this education field. Even the staff undergo various other training in apart from the basic requirement that they are supposed to study and fulfill. So what are they? The different forms of education that we see. We see practical learning, field trips. We see practical learning in terms of not just laboratory concern, even agriculture. People and students, in fact, undergo various agricultural process in order to understand this agricultural system in our country. So only the future of education will change from the same learning system adopted to all. It would be more of a personalized learning when it is more of a project based or a field based learning. Change in the exam systems, definitely a must, especially in the growing age where the fear of exam is set right at the age of 5 or 6. So definitely it is a bigger fear when as the child grows. So change in the exam system, and students' ownership and teachers are just as mentors. So there are various education that is coming up where teachers are just giving you guidelines. It is your own responsibility and your own understanding of the subject, where teachers will only help you when it is required to. So these are the various forms the education has seen these days. However, whatever the form of education it is, we could see, education has never changed. Education has moved to different forms or to even higher levels, but education is still the same. Sustainable improvement is what we see as a key aim of these educational institutes. So on a long-term basis, what I provide as this field trip mode of education, or what I provide as a change in the exam pattern, or what I provide as a practical exposure, that should be sustainable. Not that students are not coping up and parents not coping up, it should be sustainable. So I should understand the importance of such change that I am bringing over. When I understand the importance, I will be able to frame a strategy in order to sustain this system to last for a longer period of time. So therefore, they have to adopt different strategies to attract best students and also ensure all the students who are in their system are well placed, or they are able to take their own decisions, they are able to run their own business in a successful manner, take up failures in a lighter way, and move ahead successfully in the long run. So strategic management is required in educational institutes, mainly because that is the basis for a person. Education is the basis for a person, and if that is really taken various shapes, then in future he will be able to design the business where he is in a better way. The next non-profit organization being medical organization. Yeah. So like education, where we could see education has gone online. Now even the medical field is not just we need to visit the doctor's place, right? Medical field is also this field has also undergone various changes, and it is a very turbulent, complex environment. Okay, many diseases we see these days, and a same set of medicine we cannot hold for all diseases. So where one particular medicine was possible, it was possible to cure general cold and cough, is not possible in this time, especially when so many viruses are being studied and so many systems are totally undergoing changes. So medical organizations face a turbulent, confusing and a threatening environment, especially due to the domestic international market forces, lifestyle changes, food habits, your own lifestyle, technological advances, the threat is also more. The threat of various diseases, the threat to be easily succumb to any particular virus is very, very high. So therefore, there is a need to understand the external change, develop the strategies that account for such changes. Here they must focus on creating strategies that anticipate the potential needs for additional resources such as capital and personnel. So medical field requires huge funding in fact. So various laboratory experiments need to be made, a lot of investment in research field. So it definitely requires a lot of capital. Now various services, like how we saw the various forms of education, what are the various forms of medical field is patients are treated at home. Not just physiotherapy or such door-to-door consultation, even we also see teleconsultation, especially after the rise of corona. We could see medically we could converse with the doctor over a video call or over just a telecall. We can fix the appointment, and up to the scanning stage everything is done over telephone. So door-to-door collection of blood, services at the patient's residence, teleconsultation, virtual or electronic monitoring. Even an ICU patient can be monitored from somewhere else, from a different country, through this electronic or virtual monitoring. And hassle-free ambulance services anytime with just a dial. So all these are the various services they have come about in medical field. Now, so thus there is definitely a requirement for strategic management in medical organization. Reactive, definitely, because some of the diseases or some of the new problems that we see cannot be proactively anticipated for. But reactive is definitely there. Reactive strategies definitely do take place in medical organization. Also, proactive strategies or prospective strategies need to be taken care of. So instead of just being responsive, create the future, create what could happen. That's the reason many have come about with immunity boosting medicines or immunity boosting medicines and tonics and so on. Prevent a disease before you could face it. So be proactive, create vision for the success, allow for flexibility in case of any unforeseen developments occur. For example, suddenly in your hospital there has been a nursing shortage. So, but you definitely need a nurse to take care of the patients. Okay? The shortage may not be very severe impact, but then the number of staffs required in your organization may be definitely important requirement. So this is there you can take a proactive strategy. When you could foresee such a situation, you should be ready with a group of people to help you or to support in such situations. So proactive strategies are required. Be flexible and not rigid, and reactive strategies are definitely there in a medical field. New healthcare policies, medicines prices suddenly go up and down, new diseases, new epidemic diseases which we have all seen so in the recent could all come up in some form or the other, and thus it requires the service providers to continuously experiment and adapt to such situations quickly. Last but not the least, strategic management in government departments. Is it possible? Governmental organizations are generally not very flexible, they are very rigid, they are very firm. So can I implement a strategic policy in a government organization? What are these government organizations? We have central, state, many corporations, central government, state government, many corporations, departments, public sector units, departments and so on. They are also working for the public, right? So such governmental organizations also do work for the mass public. They are not profit oriented. So that's why we see them as government organization, public for the public, and not as a commercial profit making business organization. So that's why we say it is different from a regular business. There are quite few similarities, but the government is different from a commercial organization. The work of government is defined by its own law, and it is existing for the public and not profit making. What are the things in common? As I said, very few. Here also, in a business, in a commercial organization, people are recruited, staffs are recruited from the mass public. In a governmental organization also, it is not that jobs are only for a restricted group of people. People are into governmental jobs. They are also picked from the same public, from the same mass public. And also, the professional, the mass production, whatever are the things which are in common between a business and a government organization. So government organization, when they have the same production level, when they are working for the same set of people by recruiting from the same group, they need to assess their efficiency. So people go in for various people are supposed to resort to various governmental undertakings only with regard to certain jobs, with regard to certain steps that need to take. And when it comes to that requirement, they are working for the public. So definitely such governmental organization need to assess their efficiency. They need to compare, assess as in they need to set a benchmark. They need to compare themselves. They also need to compete with others. They need to survive in the long run. Okay, so a government organization is generally stamped as for inefficiency or for a delayed or not for meeting the customer's requirement on time. Things are to be changed. They are also working for the public, so they need to assess their performance, compare it, compete with others. Only then strategic management can take a better role over there. So when the organization is effectively consumer oriented, yes, when government is serving for the public, so it is consumer oriented. So the services are made available for everyone in the society or everyone in the country. So you are communicating to the public, you are doing all the activities, actions, welfare for the public. So consult the users regularly on its result, get feedback from them as to what has to be improved, what has been working good, what has been their positive impression that they have framed. So this is definitely required in a governmental organization too. Okay, like how business have consumers feedback system, even government should have a complaint grievance system or a redressal system to address the various grievances of the consumers. Though, as I said, it is very rigid, it is quite little impossible to follow strategic management in a governmental organization. If it is followed, it is going to benefit the mass public on a huge basis. So thus today in the introduction chapter, we have seen what are the various definitions associated to strategic management, right from business, policies, strategy, management, strategic management, and then the importance, limitation, the various levels in an organization, and strategic management affects or hits all these levels, is prevalent at all these levels. And strategic management is definitely not only for the commercial organization but also for governmental and non-profit organization, etc. Thank you so much.